Governor Lamont and his team of number crunchers gave a rosy outlook last Thursday on the state budget numbers during an election year. That's surprising. But Republican challenger Bob Stefanowski didn't see it that way. There's some finger pointing over car tax relief from the governor's budget. Secretary Jeff Beckham, he blamed municipal leaders for not lowering taxes after the state and federal government provided them with millions in tax relief. Come on, it was your turn. Let's do it. Watch this.
They have quite a bit of resources right now. Could have used some of that to defray these hikes. They raised the taxes to the extent that they're going up. That was not something the state did, and we gave them a $100 million cap, $100 million in relief for taxpayers. That would have been that much higher had we not taken that action.
You would call that bend it like Beckham. He bent that a little bit, didn't he, huh?
Yeah, it's probably not the best thing to say. Factually accurate. I mean, municipalities, partially accurate. Municipalities have gotten a lot more money, especially the ARPA funds. They've seen increased education funding in other areas. The glitch with the car tax was how they calculate it. And cars values, especially for used cars, have gone through the roof. We all know it. Whether you came off lease or you were trying to get rid of a car, you usually got more money than it was actually worth. With the chip shortages, that's what happened. So the towns based that on the NADA evaluations. The prices went up. It was still offset. They saved money. Had it not been for what they did in Hartford, the car tax would have been an additional dollar amount. But it doesn't sound good, and that response isn't good.
When you promise tax relief and people's taxes go up and your response is, it could have been worse, you're losing. Look, Joe and I both work with Jeff Beckham. Smart guy, good guy. Terrible comments in that press conference. And if I'm Max Reese, I'm saying, Jeff, you're no longer speaking for this administration, because they should have anticipated this. As Joe pointed out, anybody who was paying attention knew used car prices were going through the roof, which means they were going to be valued more by the towns and cities. The governor's office, the Democrats in the legislature could have put in a bill to have prevented that increase from happening this year. It won't happen next year, but they should have done it this year. The governor promised property tax relief for the car tax. Nobody's getting it. That's a bad look for the governor.
Talking to some of my friends up at the state capitol, and what they said is they were trying to calculate it. They knew it was out there, but trying to calculate it after the grand list had already closed was a harder aspect. The municipalities weren't going to sit and wait to set their mill rates. They weren't going to sit and wait to send out their tax bills. They all came out. So it will be fixed next year. But you're right, that's not the greatest response. Talk about the process and what happened and why it is the way it is. Don't just blame the municipalities.
Right. Well, even talking about process, you lose it too.
It's true. It's true. I tend to be not nearly as wonky as others, but the process is important. How it's set, people should at least know. And the reality is, had it not been for that bill passed, they would have seen an additional increase. So did they save some money? Yes. Did they save money over what they paid the year before? No.
Yeah. This is. Look, if you're explaining, you're losing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, promised tax relief for people on their property taxes and cars didn't happen. And remember, we have a diesel tax increase, which is going to increase the cost of goods and services in Connecticut. The governors and the Democrats specifically said we're not going to give a diesel tax holiday. We don't want trucks to get a break. That was their argument, because we're giving tax relief in other areas. Well, now we find out that tax relief didn't come in those other areas. It's a bad look.
And Massachusetts is not giving a gas holiday. They're just sending checks in form of rebates to the state, to the people, to give them some money.
Yeah, which I've never liked. When we got it back in the late 90s or the early 2000s, I'm like, okay, I buy a pair of sneakers and that's it.
And Dan Malloy tried to do it, and he pulled it back two or three times.
But the John Rowland rebates were very small. We got $6 billion from the federal government. I'm actually disappointed that we didn't have that discussion, because if the rebate maybe was $1,000 to certain families, that would have been pretty good.
Child tax credit's coming.
Child tax credit is promised to come. We're going to be facing deficits in the out years, as you know, and we'll see if it actually happens. The history is that the promise of tax relief, as we've just seen with the car tax relief, is that they don't happen.
All right, guys, he's walking, he's talking. Senator Chris Murphy, the Murph, shares some interesting details as he makes his annual walk across Connecticut. Don't walk away from the TV set. Cal Report is coming right back.